Yeah? The filming? Alrighty. So, I finally finished Suki. Suki, right?
Yes.
Suki. By him.
I'm innocent. No.
I was gonna do my regular book discussion videos, just with the author this time. So it's like a special treat. Alrighty, let's get started. So this video is a little late because it took me a while to finish it, but that's alright.
Okay, and a few words of keynote. This was published in 2012. It is 2020. This was 8 years ago. I was about 20 years old.
I have no complaints on your actual writing, you know this, right?
I know, but there's some parts of the book that are outdated.
Which we'll get to on my second point. I told you before. Alright, so I told him this, but Scott has weird reactions to getting a strange email and then to his hand turning blue.
Again, that was writing preferences back in 2012. Well, 2010 to 2012 is when I really took off and worked on the book.
He went on a walk, which is fine, but I think if you do rewrite it, just kind of write some thoughts he had.
I do plan to remaster the set.
He keeps saying that, but...
I've been saying that since... Yeah.
At least since I've been here. I don't know. Yeah, the second one, Hastings, was mentioned, and it made me mince it, which is what I meant by it was outdated. Because there is no Hastings. Is there even one store?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think
They
they all
went
shut down.
bankrupt, so...
Yeah. It's the problem with physical
So,
stores.
if I ever rewrote it, I would probably change it to, vintage stock, or...
Barnes
I might not even say, a store, I'll probably just say, a geeky store.
Yeah. Because Hastings wasn't just a bookstore, so I was going to say Barnes
It kind
Noble.
of turned into, a Hot Topic.
Mm-hmm. You could say Hot Topic.
No. Cord with his ripped pants.
Oh yeah, I think he did I even write a note on that? But I think he talked about
He did.
the torn pants and
There
why
was
is
a
that
big
even
rant about that.
why is that even a style? It's stupid, blah blah blah. Which honestly I agree with. I mean people can wear it, but
I just don't honestly see the point. You could buy a new pair of pants.
Wait a couple of years, they'll be torn. I think.
Or even a couple weeks. You could tear them up and it would save you half the cost.
Especially if you're a kid like he was.
Because these were 15, 20 bucks. But that's my size also. But ripped jeans, you buy them for 40, 60. It's you could buy a pair of these, cut
just
them.
poke holes.
Or give them to your younger sibling.
That'll take care of it real quick. Give it to the dogs. You just won't have any pants left. Danny. We have a dog down here that refuses to walk down the stairs. And I forced her down here today because I came up last night and she tore up a pin. Which is why I have ink on my fingers. I don't know if you can see it
And
that far.
we are more concerned about the safety of our puppy. Even though one's just over there in the blue chair, just
Chill.
she's the queen of the chair.
She's like, I am the queen. I'm the oldest. Okay. Third point. Scott is weird. He was weird at first, I thought. I don't know, maybe it just took a little bit to get into it. He gets into a random fight and then just goes to class. Even though he somehow produced cords out of his fingers. Which was when he learned about his powers, kind of.
Like I said, my writing style at that point was
I also imagine it just being a typical high school student who didn't really care. It was just getting a fight, whatever.
that was actually based on a real life scenario. Not the cords obviously, but
A kid gets into a fight and
yeah,
goes
and
to
then
class.
he just went to class and they blamed the other kid because a lot of kids saw it and they snitched, and it's just no, it was him. He started it. That other kid was just, and he got off scot-free.
See, that's what I meant. It was just like I figured it was just a typical like high school thing, kind of like testosterone boys, and
But
you know.
it didn't end the way it did. He ended up with like a black eye and a bruised rib.
Oh, Scott has to like fight people, and like his adopted dad was the first one.
The Hinka
Or-
Guardians.
What we thought was his adopted dad. That's not it. There we go. What we thought it was his adopted dad, but like just was. They disguised him or something, or was it that or?
The part you're referring to is there's a spoiler alert. If
All my book discussion has spoiler alerts.
yeah, well, I was just gonna say this.
He says as if he hasn't been spoiling the book for me the whole time.
Don't live with the author. Her words.
I said that earlier. I was just gonna say, I was gonna mention this in the video. Do not live with the author.
But the whole point of the Hinka Guardians was, I told you a little bit about the first gens, how they could rival those of the fallen angels, clan leaders. And the fallen angel clan leaders decided, you know what, they kind of got paranoid as they spent more time on Earth and raising the kids when they started showing advanced powers that could equal their own. So they all came together and decided there wasn't going to be any more. But they didn't make a fallen angel promise, which is a binding contract in their world. So in case if another fallen came down, he wouldn't just get thrown into it. He would just, or if like famine or like war happened, they could restart their own clans. They would just have to kill off all the first gens. Well, the second generations, who could still kind of rival if they worked together, Giga, who is Court's father, or Scott's father, decided that it would be best if he would, like, eradicate them, so they offered a compromise. The whole point is they became what was called the Hinka Guardians.
Yeah.
Or Hinka, or in Japanese means transform. So Giga's whole compound is based on the premise that when you hit puberty, your powers will manifest like more. Like they'll grow. Like kids will still have them when they're young, but when they hit puberty, they'll manifest their full potential, which you can still train and strengthen. Well, if the body's not strong enough to accept the powers, it'll corrupt the body and actually kill the host. So the second generation, seeing this from the third and stuff like that, who were battling it on their own, decided they would step in and help them through the transformation to try and let more of them survive the change. Which is a part, if I did remaster it, I'd want to touch more upon like the backstory of that.
Right. Just do a novella.
Second generations, the changelings.
So there was like in the beginning shadows following him. And he didn't like know that. He just saw like shadows and it was just like kind of flicker. And then we find out it's Dark Ray following him because Giga said so. Which I thought was creepy, but I get it.
Cord was still at the puberty, so his powers were starting to manifest.
Yeah.
He couldn't really stay off that angelic radar when he himself was the first gen.
Yeah. Then I said Dark Ray is a bit of an asshole.
He is.
Which as it goes on, I erased that. Well, I didn't, but like I'm erasing that a bit of. He just is.
He is. He very much is.
Although I forgot to write it down, but he had like a weird change in the end. What was that about?
And that change will become prominent, especially like in the second book.
Did we find out why he's nice all of a sudden?
Well, there was a part
Respectful.
where he thinks he's the biggest, baddest. And when Cord first came in there, he was like the new toy in the toy box. Always played with, always favored. What, Cord?
She's just staring at you.
Always favored compared to like the others. Like when I make a new weapon, I tend to favorite it for a little bit and then I go back.
It definitely does.
And it was the same way with him. But later on, Cord was kind of doing his. Okay, for those that can't keep up, Scott is Cord. He just changed his name. Anyway, and so Cord was doing his own thing, and in a small way, I think Giga kind of realized it. Well, not kind of. I know he realized it because I'm the one who wrote his. That's what he told me when I was writing it.
Yeah.
But so he kind of sensed that, and it just went on that he started relying back on Darkrai, and upon seeing what Cord was doing, he kind of started to respect and fear.
Giga says something about making a sword and shield. It just reminded me of Pokemon. And it kept like referring in that order of sword and shield. So it just reminded me of Pokemon Sword and Shield. I just thought it was funny. We met Hope, which first reminded me of like the angel and devil on his shoulders, basically, like I told you. Then it reminded me of the originals. Because of like the Hope was the good in Cord or Scott, and then what Sin was the bad, which is why it reminded me, and they were all in his mind, so it just reminded me of, like I told him, the angel and devil.
And like I told you earlier, which I'll say it again because they obviously don't know what I'm talking about, but when I first started writing the book and it got it published, there was a few book signings that I did trying to promote my book. And one of the people who bought it there at the book read, or book signing, went home, read it, and before I left for that day, so within an 8-hour period of time, she came back and actually bought another copy for her younger brother, and she gave me the best way to describe it. Cord's powers is that of creation. Basically, his father's a fallen angel, so power of creation. Well, in that creation, he's also part human. Therein lie, our civilization and our race as a total is basically hell-bent on destruction. So, creation and destruction mixed within the one body. And thus, the creation is kind of the angel sitting on your shoulder and destruction being sin.
What I don't think I told you was it reminded me of the originals.
I think you might have mentioned it.
Because there's if anybody knows the originals, it's a hybrid gets a werewolf pregnant, so he has a kid, but the whole pregnancy, his brother just kept referring to her like she was our hope, or she is the hope of our family, she's the hope, blah blah blah, and so they named her Hope. So that just kind of reminded me of the originals. Also, how would Hope know about who Giga truly is? I wish I wrote a page number for that. But he made a comment about Giga not being who he really is or something like that.
I don't really want to spoil some of the things.
Okay.
I want there to be
So is
some
that
mystery.
explained?
But Hope, being the power of creation, is more of his angelic bloodline.
See, I thought it was in his mind though. So just
Hope is a sub-part of his consciousness,
yeah.
which is also bathed in some of the angelic blood. So he has more power than what he realizes.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a premonition, if you will.
I wondered.
Like a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Yeah. Why orbs? Represented. There was a battle in his mind. What was it, the change or something?
The second change.
Yeah, there's a second change that they go through, and it was a mind battle, And so Cord,
who was going to?
yeah, Cord, Hope, and Sin like battle to see who would take over that body. So
Honestly,
turns out they're orbs.
I was honestly getting published at that time, so I was trying to wrap things up and quickly go back and fill holes that needed to. Because originally I had a huge like fight with them, but chords versus chords, it just, I was looking for something else, and that was one of the easiest things. It's just a blob that's floating, trying to encompass the circle being who controls the full part of the month.
What's funny is I just got like a calendar event to post the book review while we're doing the book review. Oh, I think Cord says this, but nothing's better than root beer. And I said, except Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper. Cherry.
All we have in this house is Dr. Pepper, but I would still love root beer more.
You can buy root beer. I like root beer too. It's really good. We usually buy, well, we try to buy a 24-pack, but because of the pandemic thing, there's really just no 24-packs in sale anymore.
Well, and
Sometimes.
like as soon as they hit the shelves, people are just grabbing them and.
So we've been getting like 12-packs every time we go to the store. And I keep telling him, buy, oh, Tori got up there. Keep telling him, buy root beer. I drink either one, but.
She prefers Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, but root beer's delicious. I like root beer every now and then. It's what I get like when I go to Sonic for that like happy hour pop. Okay. I wish I had Becky's power. She can like, what, conjure up food.
Her power is the atom manipulation. She can literally turn the atoms into food.
So does that involve every food out there? Or
As long
is
as
it
she
just...
can like picture it in her mind, it'll happen.
Okay, yeah, probably there.
But the reason I'm kind of snickering and laughing is friend Crashbug, or Christian, has like thoughts and like, he'll probably leave a comment on the video once you post it, or his wife will. Because theoretically, like when you use your powers, like as in with like a lot of superhero movies and stuff like that, he just like nudged her off with her nose.
No.
And or even like in anime, cartoons, comic books, the more you use your powers, the stronger your powers get.
Yeah.
And theoretically, since Becky has been like using them for years, feeding the clan, theoretically her powers are growing at an exponential rate. And he theorizes that Becky could create like a tank, like a Panzer, or like any kind of weapon you could imagine.
Yeah.
And we've made this joke about like the brown bag special, like she could just create a brown bag with anything in it.
It's like the Firehouse special.
So that's why I was snickering and laughing.
So they, Cord and, what's his name, Noah, goes to, on a mission, and they tell people they're from Libra.
Yeah, House Libra.
But they also later said that it's a fake clan.
It's a fake family clan.
But then how would Camis know that it has slow members in it? Because Camis was like, that family is pretty slow or something like that.
It's ever
Stupid.
growing. Well,
But
it's
if
one
it's
of those
fake-
things that the clan leaders know that there's going to be spies in the group.
Yeah.
So, Clan Libra and other families will actually be those spies. It was a way to make sure that the fallen angels could enact kind of their own justice system. Oh, I'm going to send a couple kids over to your clan to check it out, make sure you're not creating first gens or whatever, or what you're up to. And so it was kind of a safeguard, which I was thinking about when I revamp it, having Suki actually mention that within like one of her final speeches when she's telling Cord about his mother.
Oh, Snipe talked about why Kumis would even have food in his cabinets, and it made me think like, what if we had to go to the store each and every time we needed food? But then it also reminded me of when I was in college or staying in the dorms. It would have to go out to get food each and every time.
Well, and see, one of the other things you also have to realize is his backstory is. I tried to make it semi-tragic. You know, it was. He felt he was supposed to do something of a higher purpose. That he thought, oh, well, I'm not going to join the Royal Army, which is the clan's army, because I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something else. So, since he was one of the strongest, or the big three children, if you get the reference of Greek mythology, big three, Zeus, Hades, Poseidon.
No, mythology is just not ever my thing, which was why it was hard to get through this book.
But, well, so he turned her down, Suki, not to join the army. So he was kind of just like exiled. So when you would be like exiled in a clan where if you weren't respected, people could theoretically come up and like hit you and stuff like that and get away with it scot-free, you would eventually stockpile like resources so you wouldn't have to go out every single day.
Well, see, I got that. It was just like, what's his name?
And-
Snipe. Like how that wasn't expected of them.
Yeah,
to
because
stockpile.
when Snipe
So
and
it's
Slice
like-
go out, there's like parades for them
Yeah.
because they're the leaders of the army.
But I just thought it was funny they go out every time they want food. So it's
They're
just
also kind of attention hogs. So
That's true. Oh, I told you this already, but Cord was talking about Twilight. Said vampires should sparkle, and all I say is fuck you. As you probably saw in the, what video was it? Oh, I think it was like the characters I like and dislike video. I mentioned about how I like Twilight. It's not like my favorite. Like I see the problem with it, but I don't hate it for like what everyone else hates it for, is sparkling vampires. Just because vampires are fake. I mean, they have like, you know, like a fan base type thing.
well, see, when I was writing this also, Twilight was getting bigger in popularity, and I was one of those that read the book just to make fun of it.
You're the type of people that I hated.
Because I believe that you should read something in order to understand it before you make fun of it.
I mean, that's true. But it's one of my biggest rants is vampires can be whatever you want them to be just because they are fake. It's not like human beings, they're just like, and people don't complain when people change up like humans, give them like some powers even though that's not real. That's just a rant I have.
It was, for me, it was just
I mean, I
the
don't care about you.
sparkling. It was,
Yeah, I know.
she made them like too overpowered. They really had no weakness. They didn't.
That's what I liked about them though. Like if I had to be a vampire, that's the type I'd be.
I mean, it's true, but the only thing that they really feared was other vampires and werewolves. There was nothing else that could really get them.
I wish somebody would write it where they take over the world though. They don't have to hide. Because what do they gotta be scared of humans for? Anyways, back to this book, and not Twilight. Cord got into like people's minds, and I don't remember whose mind he got in the first one. Was it Kumis? I think it was Kumis.
I think it was accidental, but I
Yeah.
think it was.
Like he
because-
didn't realize he was getting into his mind, and he was like, "What?" But I was freaked out. Well, not
Which
freaked out,
honestly, when we were watching The Flash the other day, and like Cecile got the powers, like Joe's wife when she was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly like you were reading my book at the time, and it was like
So like,
Sneaky eyes.
so like a character in the Flash was able to like read minds while she was pregnant.
And a little bit afterward.
Yeah, a little after until like it wore. Did it go?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it
until
was
wore
like,
off. But, I couldn't remember if it like wore off or it was so
It just went
dampening.
away.
But yeah. The last one was Cord killed Suki, and I said gasp! Exclamation point. But yeah.
which later on in the story, that gasp is going to turn a lot bigger. I'm not really going to spoil a lot of that because you still have the second book to read and the third that's printed off. But honestly, the character on the first book is Cord. The character on the second book is Comis.
See if it's like Native American?
Yeah.
Or, okay. I can tell. Looks like he's wearing an earring, but it's just a scratch on the cover. And then I'm gonna read the second book. Azine.
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 Azine. Whatever it is. Azine. Yes.
So do you have any big hopes going into this? What do you want to see out of it?
I don't know. Just enjoy it.
You don't want to see characters develop.
I mean, I always want to see that.
I mean, the fact
More-
that
More.
Noah almost lost his leg. I've already spoiled that there's one death in the book.
I thought it was Suki.
Well, technically there's three.
What? Is it not? Ah. He's teasing me.
But no, there is like a prominent death in the second book.
He kept telling me somebody's gonna die. He didn't say what.
Okay, in my defense on this part,
There's more chapters.
and Crashbug or Mellowtail or Bubbles Jr., if you watch this, you already know who dies in the second book. We've made several jokes, and I know she was there for this.
Yeah, but when you were like making jokes, I hadn't read it, and I knew I was gonna read it, so I tried not to pay attention. So I didn't. So I could easily forget it, and so I don't spoil it. Because if I know too much spoilers, I'm not gonna enjoy the book. And so I want to enjoy the book, and experience the
Right.
twists and turns that comes with it. I'd say I would enjoy it. I probably would. I've read like books based on movies when I've already watched the movie.
So,
But
since you kind of read, like, not kind of, since you've read the first
I
book,
finished the first book.
what do you think Cord and Becky's, like, relationship is going to progress into?
I hope they date, but I kind of like wish he stood up for her more when Dark Ray was being a dick. But
What,
because he was more like concerned about like the pettiness, and he was just like, I just wanted to relax, which I get, but it was like it wasn't her fault. And I didn't really feel like he was blaming her, but it was just like he just didn't stand up for her either.
and since I've already asked you and you've answered this off camera, who is your favorite, like, non-main character?
Non-main character. What was her? Slice. Slice the Slicer. So I kept mixing up. There was two characters, Slice and
Snipe.
Snipe.
Comis' brother and sister.
I almost said Splice. I was like, wait a minute.
Slicer.
And I kept mixing up which one was the brother and which one's the sister, and he gave me a good, what's it called?
Analogy?
Yeah, to remember it. Slice the Slicer, Snipe the Sniper, and the brothers into the guns and sisters into the knives. So I like Slice.
The brother is a gun, the sister is a knife.
Yes.
Snipe the sniper, slice the slicer.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I know, but I like my little rhyme to it.
But yeah, so I liked Slice a little just because I found her to be a little badass and how like everyone was afraid of her basically, even the brothers. So I kind of liked her. Becky, I like her. I like Noah. I don't really have like a favorite, but I kind of like them all except for Dark Ray. And I'm not sure how I feel about Giga, so. Eh.
Any final words, Penny?
She's like, can we go upstairs?
She's like, are you guys done yet? But if this video gets decent reviews, I might be back answering questions in the next one.
Hopefully.
So leave a comment down below if you want to see my ugly face again, or you just want to see her.
Ugly face too.
It's your channel. If you want to see her beautiful face, do her normal book review.
I'll probably force him on. If nothing else, I'll just record his answers. I'll be like, this is what he said. I have a paper and pen. Well, I don't have my pen, but I have paper. I'll just be like an old-fashioned reporter. He said.
So, since it has been said, and this is probably the end of the video, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. And as always, peace.
That is the end to your video. Stay tuned for Aizen book review. Is it Aizen?
Yes.
Aizen. The I just throws me off. Take the I
I
out.
before E.
Take the I out. Aizen. But, yes. I will try to finish this soon. I've just been kind of reading like an hour at night now. About an hour to an hour and a half, depends on if he calls me on his way to work or from work. And then on his days off, I'll read if he's out like working. So.
Which on my channel I have got a couple projects in the oven that I will probably finish up. So if you want to see those videos, go subscribe to my channel, X's Live.
Alright, and that is all. Cut. Stop recording first.